Good morning, good evening, friends. Welcome to my channel Ek Kitab Se Ek Moti. Today is Mahashivratri, and I'm making this video from Varanasi, which is considered the city of Lord Shiva. So today's video will be on Lord Shiva, and I'm going to discuss a portion from a Tamil book which has hymns or songs or psalms dedicated to Lord Shiva. The author or the songwriter or the hymn writer is Thiruvasagam, one of the most prominent saints of Tamil Nadu, one of the Shiva devotees, greatest devotees of Lord Shiva, and he has written many hymns that are part of the Thirumurai, that is the 12 great books dedicated to Lord Shiva. They are very popular in Tamil Nadu. So I'm going to read a portion, very small portion, but it is packed with wisdom and bhakti, that is devotion. So I'm going to just read that, and I'll try to unpack and unfold its teachings and reveal its deeper meanings as I've understood them. There's the brightness of the sun, so it's a little difficult to kind of open my eyes completely. So let me talk about this great book. So this is an English translation of Thiruvasagam. Thiruvasagam, as I said, was written by Saint Manikkavasagar, the great Tamil saint, a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And in many temples of Tamil Nadu, you will see his image as well, his idol. You would be able to find his idols in many of the temples in Tamil Nadu, even in Varanasi. I think the temple at the Kedar Ghat, I think it has one of his, an idol of the great saint Manikkavasagar. So this English translation was done by Thiruvasagam. That is, his name was K.M. Balasubramaniam, I think. The writer is Thiruvasagam. Thiruvasagam was his title. K.M. Balasubramaniam, he was a BA and VL, that is, I think he had a degree in law and arts. And this book contains some great pictures. I'll just show you the pictures. Not just pictures, and it has got so much excellent content that I recommend this book. You buy it and read it. It has introductory remarks from Srinivasa Sastri, one of the great orators of India. He was called the silver-tongued orator of the British Empire. And then there are materials or introductory materials from Radhakrishnan, our president, former president, and from I think the then chief minister of Tamil Nadu, or it says home minister, Mr. Bhaktavatsalam, and from the Shankaracharya Swamigal, Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, by Swami Shivananda of Rishikesh. So it contains a lot of material. So I'll show you some of the images, wonderful images and pictures that this book contains. So there is Natarajar or Nataraj, this, and then show you some more images of Saint Manikkavasagar. So this is Saint Manikkavasagar, who has written this great book in Tamil. So I'm going to read just 2 or 3 verses from the first chapter. It's titled Siva Puranam. So I'll just read the English rendition or the English translation of that. So it says, it begins thus: Thiruvasagam, or the sacred utterance, Siva Puranam, or Sivan's ways of old. Puranam is like the old incidents or captured in our books, religious books, or in our scripture. So Puran usually means Puran or Puranam, anything that has happened already in the past. So, and especially in the distant past. So let me read the portion that I've selected for today. I think I've also copied on my computer, so just to make sure that I'm going to read the exact portions that I've selected for today. Okay, so Namasivaya, hail, hail to the foot of the Lord, hail the foot of him who does not part even for a twinkling from my heart. And then I'm just skipping 2 verses, and then I'll come to the 4th and the 5th verses. Victory to the foot of the King who calmed the storm within the soul and made me his. Now, just these verses, but they are packed with wisdom. So this is what I have for today from Thiruvasagam, and we'll discuss these in detail now. Now, the pronunciation of Namasivaya, right? It varies. For example, in the north we usually say Namasivaya, but I listened to one Sanskrit scholar, Pushpa Dikshit ji. So she said that it should be pronounced thus, Namasivaya, because the aha sound becomes sh if the following letter is sh. So Namasivaya. But in the south, you have different pronunciations. So according to the phonology or phonetic system of Tamil, Namasivaya will usually becomes Namachivaya. So the phonetic part differs in the different sections of a country. So for example, in Bengal, V is pronounced as B. So these are different ways of pronouncing the same words, but I think the effect will be the same. So you can pronounce it as Namasivaya, Namasivaya. Let me begin with Namasivaya, Namasivaya, or Namasivaya, or Namachivaya, or I've also heard people pronounce it as Namasivaya in Tamil Nadu, Namasivaya, or without the short S sound or the short ich sound, it's also pronounced thus, Namasivaya. So Namasivaya. So you pronounce it anyway, the effect will be the same. So the author has translated it into English, and he has spelt it thus, Namasivaya. So Namasivaya. So I'll just stick to his pronunciation. So Namasivaya, hail. I'm just repeating the verses. Namasivaya, hail, hail to the foot of the Lord, hail to the foot of him who does not part even for a twinkling from my heart. Victory to the foot of the King who calmed the storm within the soul and made me his. So there are quite a few things here. First is, like, he hails the name of the Lord. So when you hail something, you consider it very important. And for a devotee, the most important thing in this world is the name of the Lord. That's why it begins with Namasivaya. Because even the sage Tulsidas, right, he considered the name of the Lord to be greater than the Lord. The idea is that the name is, the name can refer to the God with forms, or the God without form, that is the immanent God, or the the God who pervades the entire world, or the God with form. So the name of the Lord is the most precious belonging of a devotee. That's the first thing we learn from this. Namasivaya, hail. And hail to the foot of the Lord. Now, devotees are not just satisfied with names. I mean, most of the devotees, but in the Indian tradition, you also have devotees who don't worship forms. They just worship the all-pervading spirit in the universe. For example, Kabir, we had in the north, in Varanasi, we had Kabir who didn't worship God with forms. He worshipped the formless God. So anyhow, any devotee who worships God with form, so for him or her, the foot of the Lord or the feet of the Lord are the greatest things that they can imagine. And when we say the devotee hails the foot of the Lord, it means the devotee considers that the most important possession. So see, there is nothing material in this name that can be just imagined. You don't need material things to imagine the name of the Lord. You don't need material things to imagine the foot or the feet of the Lord. But yes, you can have symbols outside. That's why we go to temples. We have these external symbols to remind us of God. Not just to remind. When in our when we go back home, we can just imagine them again, because we have seen the feet of the Lord, or the image or the idol of the Lord. We can go back home, and even in our solitary moments, we can remember them, just like the daffodils, right? The poem of William Wordsworth. He witnesses these daffodils when he was walking along the road. I'm not sure about the location, but he was just walking, and he witnessed these daffodils. And he says in the poem that when he's in pensive mood, or melancholy, or maybe sad, or he's alone, he just remembers those incidents of the past that he witnessed, and he gets back his enthusiasm, or he becomes happy again. So similarly, for a devotee, when he or she goes to the temple and witnesses that idol or the image, and when he or she goes back home, or goes away from the temple, that image can be recalled in the mind. So that's why we have so much benefit of visiting temples. The next part. Hail to the foot of him who does not part even for a twinkling from my heart. So there is nothing in the world, or nothing in the imagination, that can separate the devotee from the feet, or from the name that he has inscribed or engraved in his or her heart. That's why Gandhiji used to say that the ideal devotee has the name of the Lord engraved in his or her heart. That is, the throne of the heart is reserved for God alone. There is no other external relation, no other external possession that can take that position in the heart of the devotee. So the seat of the heart, or the throne of the heart, is reserved for God alone. So he sits on that throne. Everything else is under that throne, or below that throne, or subject to that throne. Nothing can be the master of that place, or the name of the Lord, or the feet of the Lord. And not even for the twinkling of an eye. I mean, the duration that takes to blink your eyes, right? Or to twinkle your eyes, to blink your eyes. The twinkling of an eye, right? That duration. Even for that duration, the devotee does not part with the name of the Lord or the feet of the Lord. Just see the beauty of these simple verses, and it's so life transforming if we can put this into practice. Then finally, I mean, the final portion of the verses that I've chosen for today. Victory to the foot of the King who calmed the storm within the soul and made me his. So victory to the foot of the King. The King, as I said, anyone who sits on the throne of your heart is your real king, not the external kings, or the political leaders who rule the country, or who kind of conduct the affairs of the country. They are not the kings for the devotee. The king is the Lord who reigns supreme in their hearts. So victory to the foot of the King who calmed the storm within the soul and made me his. Devotion to God calms the storms within. What are the storms in our hearts? There is anger, there is jealousy, there are desires, unfulfilled desires, there are a wish or will to take revenge, avenge our injustices, hatred, and discrimination. And there are so many bad things that can create a storm, or brew a storm within our soul or heart. The only way of calming that storm is to let God reign supreme in our hearts. And that's why he says, victory to the foot of the King who calmed the storm within the soul and made me his. And finally, unless you consider yourself to be God's property, that is the body, the mind, the soul, and even the intellect, everything is God's. So nothing is yours. Until that moment, or until that attitude is developed within you, I don't think you can be considered an ideal devotee. So that is why in the Gita it is said, the ideal devotee dedicates his intellect and mind and body, everything, to God, which means there is nothing that can be considered his or hers for a devotee. Everything, the universe, like for example, I'm looking at the sun and the sunlight, it's all God's. And in the body that is experiencing this is God's. So that's why an ideal devotee can kind of overcome hatred can overcome anger, can overcome sorrow. Sorrow is also kind of, especially for personal loss, sorrow is not for the devotee, because that is for anyone who has something else in the heart, clinging to something that's temporary, something that's not really that God wants us to have in our hearts. So with these words, let me just conclude. Since it's Mahashivratri, we talked about the importance of the mantra or the holy verses or the holy words Namasivaya. We can pronounce this in different ways: Namashivaya, Namashivaya, or Namachivaya, Namasivaya, or Namasivaya, as our as we are used to pronouncing them easily. So whatever comes easily to us, we can use that name. So we need to hail the name of the Lord, Namasivaya, and then hail to the foot of the Lord. Keep his feet in mind. So if you're a devotee who worships forms, then when you go to the temple, look at the feet of the Lord, and when you return, keep that feet in your heart, and don't allow it to part with your, be separated from you, even for the twinkling of an eye, even for the duration that it takes to blink your eyes. And then victory to the foot of the King, who calmed the storm within the soul and made me his. So the King of the heart should be God. The only person who should reign in our hearts is God. That seat should be reserved for God and for no one else. And that's when the storms within the heart will be calm, because unless God reigns supreme, and unless the most important thing for us in our lives is God and his name and his feet, I think we cannot calm the storms within, because the storms will keep kind of returning into our lives as long as we don't have God on the throne of our hearts. And then you consider yourself God's property. You don't own yourself, you don't own your soul, you don't own your mind and body. Everything, the entire universe belongs to God, and we didn't bring anything here. This was not our creation, so everything is God's. We too are God's. With those thoughts, I would like to conclude this video. I hope you liked it. In fact, I think I forgot. My apologies. I would recommend certain books that you can read. In case you read Tamil, you can buy this Thiruvasagam by Swami Siddhavanandar, Vilakkiyavar Srimad Swami Siddhavanandar. This has been published by, I think, Sri Ramakrishna Tabovanam Tirupparaythurai, Tiruchi Mavattam. So you can buy this one as well and read it in Tamil. And one more thing I would mention is, I'll make another video on this book, Vidiyai Velvade Eppadi, how to win over your destiny, or how to kind of maybe defeat your destiny. So in this, there is one section called, chapter 7, I think. Yeah, chapter 6, which says that if you read certain portions from the Thiruvasagam, you can overcome word fatigue. Sol sorve, he calls it. That is, you can overcome word fatigue. That is, if you're tired after speaking for a long time and you're unable to really speak effectively, then you need to read certain portions from the Thiruvasagam, especially the Tiruchalal. You read that. I think it has 20 paragraphs or 20 parts to it. So if you read that, you can overcome word fatigue, you can overcome stammering or stuttering, and you can overcome, the most important thing, not overcome, sorry, you can become a Siranda Pechalar. That is, you can become an excellent speaker. Who doesn't want to be an excellent speaker? Because it is through speech that we influence others. So since I have plans to make Tamil videos, I would like to, read that part, Tiruchalal, every day before I start making my videos. Maybe in the next 20 days I'll start. Maybe it'll take 20 more days for me to start making Tamil videos. So what I'm trying to say is, Thiruvasagam has a lot of power. So read it and bring about a difference in your life. So I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching.